Hey everybody, welcome back to the Game Store Guy podcast. I'm your host Kevin, CC Game CEO, the Game Store Guy. So I'm back from Midwest Gaming Classic. I haven't had a podcast since after the Switch Switch 2 reveal. So I'm going to give my thoughts on that. Talk a little bit about Midwest Gaming. First, I'll give you guys a little update on my dog, since a lot of you guys seem to be concerned about my dog. He's doing much better. Man, I was scared that day that he woke up and he was essentially paralyzed. And after we rushed him to the hospital, got an MRI on him, he had his spinal cord was pinched, and that's why he was couldn't move his legs. But luckily, some good medicine, some good steroids has brought him back. Still can't move his right side all that well, but he can walk fine. Most people wouldn't even notice. I notice it because I see him every day. He walks differently than he normally does. But I'm just happy he's still around, still very happy, very playful, and he seems to be getting a little better every day. So that's the update on Otto. He's sitting here right by me, looking at me as I'm talking to nobody. My little dude is sitting right here next to me, staring at me, wondering why I'm talking to nobody. But that's okay. I'm just happy he's here. So let's talk about the Switch 2 and my thoughts on the Switch 2. So, I watched it just like everybody else, and there was so much confusion, and that's actually mainly Nintendo's fault. The pricing, all that, it's just, man, it was just, they didn't answer a lot of questions. They actually left more questions than answers. And one of the big things, one of the first ones that was like a question was this key cart, or whatever it is. And that was no surprise to me because they've been doing this for years, and a lot of people just are now catching on to the fact that they do it. All it is it's a way to not have a code in a box, and it's a way for Nintendo to still get that third-party company to buy a cartridge from them, because you have to buy, as a third party, you have to buy your cartridges from Nintendo. And I like it as a retailer, even though, I would much rather have the full game on the cartridge. But as a retailer, you can at least resell this. So you can, basically your license for the game is on that cartridge. And when you pop it in the machine, it just tells the Switch where to download the game to. And it's no different than like the latest. Microsoft does it all the time. Indiana Jones, for example, I've already talked about this in the past on my podcast. The new Indiana Jones game has less data on that disc than an NES cartridge. It literally, all it does is tell your system where to download the game from. That's all it is. It's just your license on a disc. And I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem because you can resell it. It does have some value. Sure, in like 15, 20 years from now, when the servers are offline, that is going to have zero value. It's going to be worthless. But right now, for me, it's fine. I'm okay with that. Would I rather have it, the whole thing on the disc? Sure. Now, like, it varies from company to company. So, like, companies like CD Projekt Red, they tend to put the whole game on there. They're putting Cyberpunk, the deluxe edition, on the full game is going to be on the cartridge. 64 gig cartridge for the Switch 2, which is cool. Ironically, the game is going to be priced at $70. But if you go on Steam right now, that same game is it's like $82 for the deluxe version. So the pricing's all over the place on Switch. And other companies that have done this in the past too, like Take-Two always does this. Most of their games, there's just a tiny bit of data on them, and you have to download the rest. I'm thinking of like Capcom does it a lot. So Capcom Street Fighter 6 is going to be a key cart, I think is what it's supposed to be, key cart. So Street Fighter 6 is going to be that way, but Capcom has done that always in the past. A lot of like their Mega Man collections, you get like one or two of the games, and the rest you got to download. Even though they're really shitty about it. Even though all those games could fit on the smallest like Switch cartridge, they still like I don't know why they do it, but they just do it that way. But it's been going on for years, and it's nothing. I mean, all the companies are like this. There's a lot of games on PlayStation that are like this. There's a lot of games on Xbox. It's the way it is in the future. It's just funny to me how many people blew this out of proportion and made it out to be a big deal. I saw videos saying it was the end of physical and like, oh, it's just craziness. It's been going on for years. People, wake up. Okay, the big elephant in the room, though, is Mario Kart at $80, and that there's going to be some games that are $80. And the other I guess elephant in the room was the $80 price point on some of the old Switch 1 games that are kind of getting like a director's cut. I guess that's what you would call them. They're getting a little bit more content. And originally there was like rumors out there that it was going to be, and I saw videos where they were like so definitive, so sure of themselves that it was going to be like just a Switch 1 cartridge with a code in the box. And that is not the case. They are going to have the game and the all the new content all on a Switch 2 cartridge. So that was confirmed by Nintendo. That's kind of cool. It's not, the price is not cool, but I understand, like, as a retailer, I kind of understand. If you've listened to me for a while, I've been saying video games have never been cheaper, and just because of inflation, I know a lot of people, whenever you bring up inflation, it's like this big taboo subject. They don't want to hear it, but I'm sorry, inflation is a real thing. If you just take from the time the original Switch came out back in 2017, $60 is nearly $80 in today's money. So, I mean, you can't expect these companies to keep the price at $50, $60 forever. And I'm old enough to remember, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are that listen to me. When N64 came out, there were a lot of $80 cartridges, and that's because the cartridges were more expensive. And just like now, the cartridges are more expensive. The cartridges cost money for third parties and Nintendo to manufacture. So I guess you're going to have to get used to it. I know it sucks. Personally, I don't think Nintendo would have got any of this backlash if they would have just stuck at 70. I wish they would have went 70 and then maybe introduced the $80 price point down the road, because $80 is just like a bridge too far right now. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but video games have never been cheaper. The other thing that's funny is everybody keeps telling me how, Switch people are like the cheap, that's the kids console. I'm going to tell you my personal experience at my store. My Switch customers are a lot of them are adults, and a lot of them have a lot of money, and I sell more Switch games and some higher end stuff on Switch than I do on the other consoles. In my opinion, the Xbox is kind of the console where the cheaper people go, and that's probably because you got Game Pass, and a lot of people are content with Game Pass. That's why Microsoft sold so many Xbox Series S's, because that is basically a Game Pass machine. But I really don't want to turn this into a console war thing. The system, Switch 2, $450 for the base system, $500 with Mario Kart, so you get a $30 value, $30 discount if you get the bundle. But of course, that is a digital system, so I've already had quite a few customers tell me they'd rather have the regular one and then buy Mario Kart separate. People like to own their games, and there are a lot of people that are into collecting that they're only gonna collect the games where the game's actually on the cartridge, and they want the actual physical item. So I've had quite a few customers tell me they're buying the $450 version with the $80 Mario Kart. And along with the pricing, so of the $80 Mario Kart, I actually got my all these games, I have price points for them now from my distributor. So I actually have what my cost is going to be. And I'm not going to give you guys the exact amount, but I'm going to tell you the $80 Mario Kart, my cost is around $65. So normally when a game was like 70 or even 60, I usually made about $10. So I'm going to make about 15 on the $80 game, which I like, but I don't know if we'll sell as many at 80. It's one of those things. But I'm wondering if you'll see places like big box places. Walmart loves to do this, but I know Nintendo hates when they do it. Walmart will sell stuff at cost. Or I wouldn't be surprised if you see some places have it at $70. And it's going to piss off Nintendo because they're going to have it $80 digitally. But it's going to be, I could see some big boxes undercutting them if Nintendo allows it. Now, Nintendo could say, hey, we're not giving you, if you don't stick to the suggested retail price, we're not going to give you any more. And I have a feeling that's what Nintendo's going to do. So they're going to really want to stick to that $80 price point. But to be honest, man, $65 is not a bad cost for me. And usually, like on a console, I don't make any money at all on a new system. So usually, like the cost say of a $500 Xbox is usually like $490, and that like covers the $10, like kind of covers the shipping, and if someone uses a credit card. This one on 500 is about $480, so cost isn't bad. On the $450 one, let's see, do I have it? I can't find it right now. Anyway, some of the other games like Joy-Cons are going to be $90. That's kind of Joy-Con 2s are going to be $90. I don't make a ton of money on those, but I do make decent money on those. So overall, as a retailer, I'm kind of happy. I'm also hearing that they've been shipping these systems since January to distribution, so they've stockpiled quite a bit. So I'm hearing it's not gonna. It's still gonna be crazy, at launch. Get your reserve in where you can. I do like what Nintendo's doing with reservations, where if you register with them. And I said Sony should do this too. You have to have a Nintendo online account. You have had to actually played on the account, and then they're gonna send you an invite, and you got like 48 hours to reserve your system. That's fantastic. That's what Sony should have done. It keeps the scalpers away. That way you just don't have bots buying up all these things. And I registered with Nintendo, even though I'm getting a decent amount for the store, which I don't know the number. Just my distributor said I should be happy, which is fantastic. And I'm thinking like, how much is this going to cost me? So if I get like 40 systems, $500 a piece, that's $20,000. I'm just thinking ahead. And I got credit, but I only have so much credit with them, so I gotta maybe pay up front on some of them, but I'll sell every single one I get. But I'm super excited for the Switch 2, and I love Mario Kart. Mario Kart's it's just like a guilty pleasure. It's a comfort food for me. Love Mario Kart, so I'm looking forward to playing that. The Donkey Kong game looks amazing to me. I love, I loved Astrobot. I love Mario Odyssey. I love simple platformers. Once again, they're just comfort food to me. They're just fun. I like turning my brain off and just, I don't want games I don't have to think real hard. Just fun to play, and I'm looking forward to both those. And I'm looking forward to playing some of my old Switch games, maybe with slightly better frame rates. That's fine too. So I'm excited for the Switch 2. I think it's going to do well. I don't think it's going to do as well as the Switch 1. But with this price being $450 and $500 for the bundle, in a weird way, that's actually good for my business, and it's good for the Switch 1 because I don't think they're going to lower the price on the Switch 1. Sure, I'm probably going to get a lot of them traded in, and that will lower the used price. But it's going to keep the price of the Switch at a decent level where I'm still making a good amount of money. And I think it's going to prolong the life of the Switch 1. And I think the Switch 1 will eventually become the #1 selling system of all time. Oh, and then there was the whole, I guess the more Switch 2 talk, there were a lot of just misinformation. I hate that word too, and I'm using it, misinformation. But anyway, there was a lot of just wrong things reported about the Switch 2, and it surprised me like Nintendo didn't come out and like clean them up, like just clarify on a lot of it, and also reporters, video game journalists really dropped the ball. Like they could have easily just contacted Nintendo for some clarification. They didn't. They ran with wild speculation on a lot of this stuff, and then Doug Bowser got interviewed the other day, and he basically stuck his foot in his mouth. And talked about the Switch 1 price point for people that can't afford Switch 2. Basically, stop being poor, which is not a message you want to send as a CEO. That guy is not smart. I just don't think he's very smart. And there's a part of me that wonders if he just got that name because his last name's Bowser and it sounded cool to be, have Bowser as the CEO of Nintendo. I don't know. I just don't think the guy's very bright. He's not very well. Maybe he is very smart, but he's not well spoken. He just sticks his foot in his mouth. And out of all the CEOs, he's probably he has the least power. So if you know anything about Nintendo of America is basically just a distributor for Nintendo of Japan. Nintendo of Japan calls all the shots. They have all the power. really you're a figurehead. If you're the CEO here in America, you have no control of anything. You just handle the distribution. So maybe he's good at that, but he is not good at doing like the press stuff. But it also really doesn't matter, because Nintendo, they're the masters of reselling the same game to you over and over and over, and people keep buying it. I always joke Nintendo could sell Yoshi's poo in a box, and people would buy it. So that's basically my quick thoughts on the Switch 2. So hit me up in the Discord or on Twitter or whatever, and tell me what your thoughts are. The big thing I did this past weekend is I went to Midwest Gaming Classic, the Midwest Gaming Classic, which is a big, huge retro game convention in Milwaukee, and it is amazing. I loved it. I've went the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 5 years now, and I sell my 3D prints there, and they were a huge hit this year. I for the first time, I had my giant printer. I got my giant printer back in the summertime, so I had some really giant 3D prints, some cool signs, some cool logos, some cool statues. I had a giant Mario RPG statue. I had a giant Charizard statue. I had a bunch of statues that I made. Hauled them all up there. It's a 6-hour drive for me, which kind of sucks. Got there, set up the first day. And the first day, Friday, is kind of, you get there, you set up, and there, I always get a good feel, like if it's going to be a good convention for me, if I have other vendors coming up and wanting to buy my stuff before the show even opens, and I had that this year. So I had a lot of other vendors coming up and wanting to buy stuff before the show even started. And the biggest thing everybody was trying to get from me was my giant Mario statue and the giant Charizard statue. And these are other vendors. They wanted them in their booth, and I was like, well, I kind of want it in my booth, to draw people to me. And they were trying to. I told them the price I would sell it at, today, which is higher. I go, if it's still here Sunday, I'll sell it lower, but I want it in the booth to draw people, so this is the price for today. So nobody bought it that day, but they did buy other stuff. So Friday we got all set up. I did a little YouTube video on I just did some quick walkthroughs of different parts of the convention on Friday and Saturday. So if you want to do that, go check out my YouTube on youtube.com/ccgameceo if you want to see some of that. But Saturday started, and man, we were just busy from start to close. And this is one of the longest conventions. It opened at 9 a.m. and we got done at 8 p.m. So that's how long. My feet were killing me by the end of the day, but my wallet was cushioning the blow. We did very well. And I sold so much stuff on Saturday. I felt like God damn, what am I going to sell on Sunday? But I did really well on Sunday too with what I had left. So I came back with probably only a quarter of the stuff I took, which is awesome. Everything was selling well. Ended up selling the Mario RPG statue. I sold the Charizard. I sold a bunch of other littler statues that we made. One of the big hits too is I had these golden Mario statues, and the reason I do them gold, they're easier to paint. But I just paint them gold or silver, so like Metal Mario. Sold a lot of those. Just my signs, man. I made a bunch of big, huge signs on my big printer, and those were big hits. And it was a lot of vendors, a lot of other stores buying these for their store to have cool decorations in their store, which is cool. But overall, man, it was a record day for us. We sold more. We made more than we've ever made. Now, for this one, we do spend a little bit more to get there. I spent probably about $1,200 on the booth and hotel and all that. So my costs were about $1,200, but I made more than I've ever made doing this. So it was a really good convention. I got to meet a few people that I've never met before. I met one guy. You might want to check him out on YouTube. It's called Woodman Classics. He makes some statues too, but he makes he does high-end statues, and man, his were beautiful, but they were pricey, but they were he puts a lot of work into them, and I don't think he sold too many, mainly maybe because I was right by him and mine were a lot cheaper, but mine weren't as nice as his, but they were nice enough. But anyway, so he was a super nice guy, though. That guy has a fantastic collection. I recommend checking him out on YouTube. Travis from Woodman Classics. He's actually super nice guy. We talked about making 3D printing and making statues and stuff, and it was nice to pick his brain and learn a few things from him. I also ran into Retro Rick a couple times. He did not film my booth this year. He didn't get anything from me this year. But Rick is a super nice guy in real life. Rick, I understand why Retro Rick is so popular, and that dude he's like the opposite of me. I'm a nice guy though. Actually, in person, I'm a really nice guy. But Rick is like the genuine super nice guy, and I understand why everybody likes him. And whenever we would slow down, I would go hunting for. I was trying to buy cheap Wii Sports because I can never keep them in stock at my store. So I went around and I found a bunch of Wii Sports, and that was the one thing I was buying, which was kind of an odd thing. But I was going up, different vendors. Hey, you got any Wii Sports? And they looked at me like, what? This is like, you're looking for Wii Sports in a retro game convention? But yeah. So I found a decent amount of Wii Sports for reasonable prices and bought them up so I could stock my store up. That was kind of fun, and to see the people's reaction when I'm asking for Wii Sports at a retro gaming convention was interesting. I got to meet up with Game Trade Greg, who's been on the podcast many times, and Greg was great. Greg came up and said hi, and I told him I'd been messaging him, but he just hasn't been on Twitter very much, so he didn't. He apologized, said he didn't see it, but we exchanged our phone numbers, so I got a direct line to Greg, so I can get him on the program again. Greg was fantastic. Greg came up and talked to me for a little while. He was telling me how he was going to be volunteering at the Extra Life booth out in the lobby, and Extra Life is just a charity to help kids that are hospitalized, get through the hospital stay, buying them video games or things that would help, donation. So I would recommend go donate to Extra Life if you guys ever want a good cause to donate to. The next day, I contacted Greg and I told him I wanted to donate some of my stuff to Extra Life so they could auction them off. So I gave Greg a bunch of my prints to auction off for Extra Life, and they were ecstatic to have them. So I gave them a bunch of 3D prints. I felt like I was doing so good, and I did some 3D prints that were kind of like local for Wisconsin that I donated. I donated some, just some cool decorations, a statue, and they were happy. And Greg was cosplaying as Wolverine that day for Extra Life, so he was at the Extra Life booth dressed up as Wolverine, taking pictures, trying to get donations and stuff like that. So that was kind of nice, and it felt good to donate to Extra Life. So anyway, Extra Life, great charity. If you're ever looking to donate some money, that's a very good cause, and I would recommend doing that. But it was great catching up with Greg. It was great. I met a lot of other store owners, and a lot of them bought stuff from me because they wanted cool decorations at their store. So I'm hoping maybe that'll lead to me getting some more other game store owners on the podcast. I know one came up. He bought I had a giant Mike Tyson like 2D sign that I made, and he bought it for his store. And his store was called Gaming Together, and it was in Wisconsin, his local store in Wisconsin. But he's got a YouTube channel as well. I think his name is Mike from Gaming Together. Super nice guy as well. I might try to get him on the show. But that was nice. I did meet up with a couple listeners. And they came by and said they listened to VGO. One of them was Anthony. Anthony, what's up? It was nice meeting you. He's been listening to VGO for 6 years. I took a picture with him. He posted it in the Discord. I gave him one of the VGO signs. I only gave out like 4 this year. The big crew that went last year didn't show up this year, so a little disappointed that there weren't more. It wasn't the whole VGO meetup like there was last year, but it was so busy that I don't know if I could have even got away that long this year, which is a good thing because, man, it was crazy. I didn't even get to meet up. I was kind of bummed I didn't get to meet up with Ben Heck. We were just in different different paths all the time. He said one time he missed me because I was just super busy. He didn't want to bother me. And then I was looking for him because he had his Evil Dead pinball machine that this is the second convention they were debuting it at. Ben's programming for Evil Dead for Spooky Pinball. Ben was on VGO not too long ago. But I've kind of become friends with Ben, and we just didn't get to cross paths, so that was a bummer. But it was also good because it meant we were just too damn busy. So good problem to have. But it's always nice getting to the convention, and you see a lot of the same vendors. And I you kind of become friends with these other vendors. And the one, he's a good dude, but he was kind of mad that he really wanted the Charizard. But, he didn't want to pay up for it that Friday. And we ended up selling it. He offered me $500 for it, and we ended up selling it for $600. So I got more than what he offered me. So you can't complain. Should have offered me more. But anyway, like Midwest Gaming, huge home run. I would definitely be back next year. I made... It's just too much money to turn down to not go again. That convention gets better every year and gets bigger every year. And I don't even know what the attendance was, but as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to go sign up again and pay for my booth a year in advance. So I get a discount if I do it now. But anyway, I think that's about all I got. Thanks everybody for listening, and I'm out.